Don't bother with her. That's what people kept telling him. The blind woman standing at the roadside wasn't his responsibility. Her clothes were torn, her bowl was empty, and in a city full of problems, most people believed helping her would only slow them down. But one young man stopped anyway. He helped her cross the road. He bought her something to eat, and he spoke to her like she mattered. What he didn't know was that the woman he helped was secretly the wife of the richest man in the entire town. And when the truth finally came out, his small act of kindness would change his life forever. Daniel lived in a tiny one-room apartment at the edge of the city, the kind of place where the walls were thin, the fan squeaked when it turned, and the rent was always due too soon. His life had never been easy. His father passed away before Daniel finished school, and the small grocery shop his mother ran was destroyed by a fire that nobody bothered to investigate. After that, everyone scattered. Some relatives moved away. Some stopped calling. Daniel learned something early in life. When trouble comes, you often face it alone. So he worked any job, loading trucks at night, cleaning offices after everyone left, delivering packages for shops that couldn't afford real drivers. Daniel wasn't special. He just refused to give up. And that morning was important. He had a job interview at a logistics company that was growing fast. If he got the job, everything could change. A steady salary, a better home, maybe even a chance to help his mother again. But there was one rule in his mind as he rushed toward the bus stop. Don't be late. The city was already alive. Cars honking, vendors shouting prices, motorcycles weaving through traffic like impatient bees. And right near the pedestrian crossing, Daniel saw her. A blind woman. Her clothes were worn and faded. Her feet were bare. In her hands was a small metal bowl. At first, Daniel kept walking. He had somewhere important to be. But then the woman spoke softly. Please, could someone help me cross the road? Her voice wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. It was just tired. A man beside Daniel shook his head. Keep moving, he said. If you stop for everyone, you'll never reach your own future. Another woman added, These beggars are everywhere. Daniel tried to ignore them. But when he looked back at the blind woman, something stood out. She wasn't shouting. She wasn't begging dramatically. She was just standing there, waiting. And suddenly, Daniel couldn't walk away. He stepped closer. Ma'am, he said gently. Hold my arm. Her hand found his sleeve carefully, like someone feeling for land after drifting in deep water. Traffic roared past them. Drivers honked impatiently. But Daniel waited for the right moment and guided her across, step by step. When they reached the other side, the woman let out a quiet breath. Thank you, my son. Daniel nodded and turned to leave. But then he noticed something. Her bowl was empty, completely empty, and her stomach made a quiet sound. Daniel sighed. He reached into his pocket. The money there was supposed to cover his transport and a small snack before the interview. If he spent it now, he might have to walk the rest of the way. But he looked at the woman again, and something about her dignity made the decision for him. Have you eaten today? He asked. She hesitated. No, she admitted. Daniel walked to a nearby food stall and bought bread and beans. When he handed it to her, the woman's hands trembled slightly. God bless you, she whispered. Daniel smiled awkwardly. I have to run now, he said, and he hurried away. Days passed. The interview came and went. Daniel tried his best, but the other candidates looked polished and confident. People who clearly had connections. He returned to his usual small jobs while waiting for a response. Then one afternoon near the market he heard shouting. A crowd had formed. In the middle of it was the same blind woman. Her bowl had fallen. Food lay scattered in the dirt, and a vendor was yelling at her. You spilled it on purpose, the woman shouted. Now you must pay. The blind woman looked frightened. I'm sorry. Someone bumped into me. But no one defended her. Daniel pushed through the crowd. That's not true, he said firmly. I saw someone knock into her. The vendor glared at him. Oh, so now you're her lawyer? Daniel bent down and helped the woman up. He dusted off her clothes. Then he turned to the vendor. How much was the food? The woman named the price. Daniel paid it quietly. The crowd slowly dispersed. And once again, he helped the blind woman sit somewhere safe. You've helped me twice, she said gently. It's nothing, Daniel replied. But she shook her head. In this world, she said softly, kindness is never nothing. A week later, Daniel was sitting in his small apartment when his friend burst through the door. Daniel, there's a luxury car outside asking for you. Daniel laughed nervously. That can't be right. But when he stepped outside, he saw it. A black luxury sedan. 2 men in suits. One of them stepped forward. Are you Daniel? Yes. Our employer would like to meet you. Daniel's stomach tightened. Who is your employer? The man answered calmly. Mr. Victor Lawson. Daniel froze. Everyone knew that name. Victor Lawson was the wealthiest businessman in the city. The car drove through quiet, wealthy streets until it reached a massive estate. Inside the grand living room, Daniel stood nervously. Then a tall man entered. Sharp eyes. Calm authority. Victor Lawson. You're Daniel? He asked. Yes, sir. Victor studied him. They say you helped my wife? Daniel blinked. Your wife? A door opened, and the blind woman walked in, guided by a maid. This time she wore elegant clothes, but her eyes were the same. Daniel's breath caught. Ma'am? She smiled. Yes, Daniel. It's me. Victor folded his hands behind his back. My wife wanted to see how people treat those who appear helpless, he explained. So she went into the city without revealing who she was. Daniel remembered the crowds, the insults, the indifference. Victor continued. Most people ignored her, but you didn't. Mrs. Lawson spoke softly. You helped me when you believed I had nothing to offer you. Daniel looked down. I just did what anyone should do. Victor shook his head slightly. Unfortunately, not everyone does. He placed a folder on the table. Daniel opened it. His eyes widened. It was an appointment letter. From the logistics company. Victor smiled faintly. You applied to one of my companies. The interview panel rejected you. Daniel's heart sank. They said you lacked polish. Victor leaned forward. But my wife saw something they didn't. Character. He tapped the letter. You start next Monday. Daniel stared at the page in disbelief. Mrs. Lawson smiled. This isn't charity, she said gently. It's a reward for the person you already are. That night, Daniel returned to his small apartment and sat quietly on his bed. His life had changed in a single moment, but the moment that truly mattered hadn't happened in the interview room. It happened on a busy road, when he chose to stop. Because sometimes destiny doesn't arrive dressed in success. Sometimes it appears as a test. A tired voice, an empty bowl, a stranger everyone else ignores. And in those quiet moments, your heart may be answering the most important interview of your life.